What if a simple cup of coffee could become a daily ritual for hundreds of millions of people around the world? Not just coffee, but a feeling. A place where people meet friends, work on their laptops, write novels, hold business meetings, or simply escape the chaos of everyday life. And somehow, that same feeling exists whether you're in Seattle, New York, Tokyo, London, or Dubai. That's the magic of Starbucks. Today, Starbucks isn't just a coffee company, it's a cultural symbol, a lifestyle brand worth over $100 billion. A brand people proudly hold in their hands while walking down the street. But here's the surprising part. Starbucks did not start as a café. It didn't sell lattes. It didn't sell cappuccinos. It didn't even sell brewed coffee. In fact, the Starbucks we know today exists because of one radical idea. The idea that coffee could be more than a drink. It could be an experience. And in this video, we're going to break down exactly how Starbucks transformed from a tiny coffee bean store into one of the most powerful lifestyle brands in the world. But to understand how Starbucks built its empire, we need to go back to Seattle in the early 1970s. Back then, coffee in America was very different. Most Americans drank basic drip coffee at home or at diners. It was cheap, fast, and functional. Coffee wasn't something people explored or talked about. Wine had culture, food had culture, but coffee? Coffee was just caffeine. In 1971, three friends in Seattle, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Sego, and Gordon Boker, believed coffee could be something more. Inspired by a coffee roasting expert named Alfred Peet, they opened a small store in Seattle's Pike Place Market. They named it Starbucks. The name came from the first mate in Herman Melville's novel Moby Dick, reflecting the maritime history of Seattle. But the first Starbucks was nothing like what we see today. The store didn't sell drinks. Customers came in to buy high-quality roasted coffee beans, tea, and coffee equipment. If you walked inside that original Starbucks, you would smell freshly roasted beans, see burlap sacks stacked around the store, and hear employees passionately explaining the differences between coffee origins. It was a place for coffee enthusiasts, but not yet a global phenomenon. For more than a decade, Starbucks remained a small local company with only a handful of stores. And then, in 1982, a young salesman from New York joined the company. His name was Howard Schultz, and his idea would completely change Starbucks forever. Schultz wasn't originally part of the founding team. He grew up in Brooklyn in a working-class neighborhood where his family struggled financially. His father worked a series of blue-collar jobs and often faced instability. Those experiences shaped his vision about business and community. When Schultz joined Starbucks as the director of retail operations and marketing, he was immediately fascinated by the company's passion for coffee. But something happened during a business trip that would change everything. In 1983, Schultz traveled to Italy, and there he discovered something Americans had never experienced before: Italian espresso bars. In Milan alone, there were thousands of tiny coffee bars on street corners. People would stop in multiple times a day. They would talk with the barista, meet friends, discuss politics, read newspapers, drink espresso, then continue with their day. Coffee wasn't just a beverage, it was a daily ritual and a social hub. Schultz was mesmerized. He later said that he visited hundreds of espresso bars in Italy during that trip, and he realized something powerful. Americans didn't just need better coffee, they needed a place. A space between home and work, a community hub. Schultz called this idea the third place. Home was the first place, work was the second place. Starbucks could become the third place, a welcoming environment where people could relax, connect, and feel part of something. But when Schultz returned to Starbucks and pitched this idea to Starbucks founders, they weren't convinced. Remember, Starbucks was a coffee bean retailer. They believed the company should focus on selling beans and equipment, not drinks. Schultz believed the opposite. He believed Starbucks should serve handcrafted espresso drinks like Italian cafes. But the founders rejected the idea. So Schultz made a bold decision. In 1985, he left Starbucks and started his own company called Il Giornale. It was built entirely around the Italian coffee bar concept. The stores served espresso drinks, had standing counters, and focused on fast but quality coffee. And people loved it. Within 2 years, Il Giornale was thriving. Meanwhile, the original Starbucks founders decided to sell the company. In 1987, Howard Schultz bought Starbucks for $3.8 million. And with that purchase, Starbucks began its transformation into the company we recognize today. Schultz merged Starbucks with Il Giornale and started opening espresso-focused coffee houses across the United States. But Starbucks didn't just copy Italian cafes, it adapted the concept for American culture. Instead of quick espresso shots at a standing bar, Starbucks created comfortable spaces with chairs, music, and warm lighting. Places where people could stay, places where people could work, places where people could meet friends. In other words, Starbucks wasn't just selling coffee, it was selling atmosphere. And this was the beginning of Starbucks' most powerful strategy: experience over product. You see, coffee itself is not unique. Coffee beans can be grown by thousands of farms, roasted by thousands of companies, sold by thousands of cafes. But experiences? Experiences can be unforgettable. Starbucks stores were carefully designed to create a consistent feeling everywhere in the world. The smell of fresh coffee, warm wood tones, jazz or acoustic music, friendly baristas writing your name on a cup, comfortable seating. Even the lighting was intentional. The goal was simple: make people feel at home. And if customers felt comfortable staying longer, they would naturally buy more drinks. But Starbucks took branding even further. They didn't just create a place, they created a language. Think about the size names: tall, grande, venti. These weren't typical American drink sizes. They were Italian-inspired words that reinforced the cafe culture Starbucks wanted customers to experience. Suddenly, ordering coffee became an experience itself. People didn't just ask for a large coffee, they asked for a grande latte. That subtle difference turned a basic product into something special, and it made Starbucks feel more premium. Then came customization. Starbucks encouraged customers to personalize their drinks: extra shots, soy milk, almond milk, half sweet, extra foam, no foam, caramel drizzle. Suddenly, coffee became personal. Customers weren't just buying coffee, they were creating their drink. And this small psychological shift made Starbucks incredibly powerful, because when something feels personalized, it feels more valuable. But Starbucks wasn't done yet. One of the most brilliant things Starbucks did was make its product visible: the cups. Think about the iconic white cup with the green siren logo. When someone walks down the street holding a Starbucks cup, it sends a message. It signals lifestyle, urban culture, modern work life, creative energy. For many people, carrying a Starbucks cup became part of their identity. It's similar to how people wear certain fashion brands. The product becomes a social symbol. And Starbucks amplified this effect with seasonal marketing. Perhaps the most famous example is the pumpkin spice latte. Launched in 2003, the pumpkin spice latte became more than a drink. It became a cultural event. Every fall, millions of people wait for the return of this drink. Social media explodes with posts, memes, photos, conversations. Pumpkin became a signal that autumn had arrived. This is lifestyle branding at its finest. Starbucks didn't just sell coffee, it sold moments tied to seasons, emotions, and memories. Another example is the Red Holiday Cup. Every winter, Starbucks releases its limited edition red cups, and people notice. Entire news articles are written about the design. Customers share photos online. The cup itself becomes part of holiday culture. That's the power of symbolic branding. But behind the cozy atmosphere and seasonal drinks was something even more important: relentless expansion. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, Starbucks expanded aggressively. New stores opened across major cities in the United States, then across the world. At one point, Starbucks was opening a new store almost every single day. Today, there are more than 35,000 Starbucks locations worldwide. But expansion alone doesn't create loyalty, consistency does. And Starbucks became obsessed with consistency. Whether you walk into a Starbucks in Los Angeles or Chicago, the experience feels familiar. The menu, the layout, the drinks, the service style. This consistency built trust. Customers knew exactly what they would get. And in a fast-moving world, familiarity is comforting. But Starbucks also understood something many brands ignored. Employees matter. Starbucks calls its employees partners. From the early days, Howard Schultz believed employees should feel valued. Starbucks offered healthcare benefits to part-time workers long before most companies did. They offered stock options to employees, training programs, career paths. Why? Because happier employees create better customer experiences, and better experiences create loyal customers. This philosophy helped Starbucks create a strong internal culture. But even powerful brands make mistakes, and in the mid-2000s, Starbucks nearly lost its identity. The company expanded so rapidly that the stores began to feel less special. Automation replaced some of the sensory elements that made Starbucks unique. The smell of fresh coffee disappeared in some stores. The atmosphere started feeling more corporate than cozy. Sales slowed. In 2008, Howard Schultz returned as CEO to fix the problem, and one of his first moves was shocking. Starbucks closed over 7,000 stores for several hours in a single day. Why? To retrain baristas on how to make the perfect espresso. That moment sent a clear message. Starbucks was not just a fast coffee chain. Quality and experience still mattered. The company refocused on its core identity: coffee craftsmanship, customer experience, community. And the strategy worked. Starbucks recovered and continued growing stronger. But perhaps Starbucks' smartest move came in the digital age, the Starbucks mobile app. Today, the Starbucks app is one of the most successful loyalty programs in the world. Customers order ahead, collect rewards, pay with their phone, and earn points toward free drinks. But the real genius is how it connects convenience with habit. If someone earns points every time they buy coffee, they are far more likely to return. Over time, those points turn occasional customers into daily visitors, and daily visitors turn into loyal fans. Today, millions of people use the Starbucks app every week. It's not just a payment system, it's a habit-building machine. Now, here's the big lesson. Starbucks won because it had the best coffee. Many coffee experts would argue that smaller specialty cafes make better coffee. Starbucks won because it built a lifestyle, a place, a ritual, a culture. It turned coffee into a daily experience tied to work, creativity, community, and comfort. And once a brand becomes part of your life, it stops feeling like a company. It starts feeling like a place you belong. And that is the true secret behind Starbucks. It didn't just sell coffee. It sold belonging. It sold familiarity. It sold a moment of calm in a busy world. Today, Starbucks continues to evolve. New drinks, new store designs, drive-through locations, sustainability efforts. But the core idea remains the same. Create a place people want to be. Because when people want to be somewhere, they keep coming back. And that's how a small coffee bean shop in Seattle became one of the most recognizable lifestyle brands on earth. The next time you walk into Starbucks, take a moment to notice the details, the music, the lighting, the smell, the menu language, the names on the cups. None of it is accidental. Every piece is part of a carefully designed experience, and that experience is what turned a simple cup of coffee into a global lifestyle. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story behind one of the most powerful brands, make sure to subscribe to Brand Story Lab.
because every week we break down the hidden strategies behind the companies shaping our world, and you might never look at your favorite brands the same way again.